Good afternoon and welcome to the webinar on the fourth edition of Prohibition Partners Global Cannabis Report. A report recently launched and available for download on the Prohibition Partners website, which covers the global trends and status of the international CBD, medical and adult use cannabis markets around the globe. I'm Alex, one of the analysts at Prohibition Partners, and I'm joined today with some of the sponsors of the report and the key players in the industry. So we have Jonathan Hodgson, CEO of Rockshore Labs, which is part of Curaleaf International, Ying Hao, the COO of Trollmaster, Sasha Stefanowski, CEO of PharmaCann International, and last but not least, my colleague Lawrence Purkiss, who is an analyst at Prohibition Partners and one of the writers of this report. Thank you all for joining. Before we begin with the question, as an open panel discussion, it'd be great if you could all provide some detail regarding your company and your recent activities. And Lawrence, if you could follow that up with a brief summary of the report. Jonathan, maybe we can start with you.
Afternoon, everybody. Yeah, I'm Jonathan Hodgson. I founded Rockshore Laboratories with my brother Rich back in 2012, where we were a specials manufacturer. I'd love to say that we did that with medical cannabis in mind and saw it all coming, but wasn't quite the case. It was way off our radar at the time, but we did manufacture a lot of controlled drugs and import controlled drugs. And when we heard cannabis was going to be rescheduled to become a medicine in the UK 5 or so years ago, we started preparing ourselves to become part of this sector. We had most of the licenses and everything we needed really to enter the market, and swiftly became one of the early players in the field. Then joined EMAC, who then became part of Curaleaf International. So we now run Curaleaf in the UK, where we also have Curaleaf Pharmacy, now Curaleaf Clinic, which was Sapphire until it was recently rebranded. So yeah, we make, we import and supply both B2B and B2C in the UK with our own products that are made in Portugal from Curaleaf's facility there in Spain, but also we manufacture and import a lot of third-party products across the UK market as well.
Thank you, Jonathan. Ying, could you provide us some detail about Trollmaster?
Sure thing, Alex. First off, I'm very honored to be here today. My name is Ying. I'm the COO for Trollmaster Europe. Trollmaster is one of the leading agri-tech companies specialized in advanced environmental controllers, traditionally focused on the horticulture industry. We're probably best known for our interconnected modular platform that enables full automation to all type of growers, ranging from small-scale hobbyists all the way to large-scale commercial operations. There's a few things that make our system stand out, aside from being highly flexible, and just to name a few. You can access it remotely. It doesn't require an engineer to install, and it has comprehensive data traceability. However, I think the real Trollmaster difference is that we own all our assets in-house, hardware and software, and we believe that makes a huge difference when it comes to quality. We control the entire chain from design, engineering, R&D, manufacturing, compliance, all the way to new product release. And that's why for us, the voice of the customer has been and will continue to be a key focus during our expansion into Europe. And I hope that gives everybody a better understanding of who we are.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ying. Sasha, could you please provide us with some detail on PharmaCann International?
Yes, thank you, Alex. First of all, best regards to everyone which is with us today. Good afternoon to everyone. It's an honor for me being part of this webinar. I see it's a great opportunity for us to discuss, share opinion, and try to craft the medical cannabis future together. I believe personally in synergies, and only with synergies we can move forward all together. Also, for me, it's an honor being part of PHCAN International. I'm the CEO of the group company. Our headquarters is in Netherlands. We have our companies in Poland, Germany, and the production facility is located in Macedonia. We are vertically integrated company. We are EU GMP certified, all companies. especially the very important production facility in Macedonia. We are state-of-the-art production facility, full indoor, with capabilities of a large-scale production of around 50 tons of premium dry medical cannabis products. We control our production with state-of-the-art quality control and safety laboratory, and we are highly networked throughout the world, and we are already exporting products to multiple countries. Because we declare ourselves as a pharmaceutical company, we implement all pharmaceutical standards into the medical cannabis production, which is for me prerequisite of compliance to any standards and for getting credibility in front of the medical cannabis patients. So we already export to United Kingdom, Germany, Poland, Czech Republic, Australia, Israel, and Brazil. And we are one of the first companies in the world that we have also Anvisa certification from the Brazilian agency. So we look forward to participate in that market and offering our products to the Brazilian patients. So as I mentioned, we are fully vertically integrated. We cultivate medical cannabis, but also we extract it as well. So we implement cold ethanol technology in the extracting of the product. We have significant capacity and significant flexibility regarding producing different type of dosing forms of THC, CBD, or single THC formulations. So we consider one of the pioneers in the European continent as well, because we leverage our experience and that we are already operating almost 7 years in the medical cannabis space on the European continent. And also, we are introduced to other continents as well. I mentioned Australia and South America.
Great, thank you. Lawrence, could you provide us with some information about the recent Global Cannabis Report for Prohibition Partners?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Alex. I'll keep it brief. So as you mentioned, I'm one of the co-authors of the report. It's one of our flagship reports. At the turn of the year, we published the Global Cannabis Report, which, as you might assume from the title, it covers the entire legal cannabis industry in a global context. So we go region by region, focusing more, of course, because there's more to talk about in the regions where there's more activity. But we look at North America, South America, Europe, Africa, Asia, and Oceania, and we take a high-level view, and we look at the patterns of development in each region, talk about the patterns of development, what the characteristics of the legal cannabis industry are in each region, and then we go a level above and we try and identify global trends and patterns of development. And the report is freely available to download on the website, so I encourage anybody who is interested to go to the website and download it and take a look.
Perfect. Thanks, Lawrence. So let's start with the first question that we've got here. Maybe Jonathan, you could elaborate on this one. So the medical cannabis market has seen an increase in producers from all around the world, and with many international companies targeting Europe as a large growth market. How, in your opinion, has the international medical cannabis supply chains changed in the last couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, it's changed massively. I mean, a few years ago when we started to bring medical cannabis in, we were literally sending a pharmacist on a plane to pick up a script from pharmacies in the Netherlands and bring it back, obviously with the relevant Home Office certificates to import it and export it. But couriers didn't want to touch it. It was, difficult financially as well to get payment providers and things. So that was the only way we could do it to satisfy scripts. So, if you think sort of 3 or 4 years on, how much that's changed, where now, product moves relatively freely as long as it's EU GMP certified and you work with the relevant bodies to get the certificates. So, there's a lot of products coming in from Portugal, Canada, Australia, South Africa, all over the place, really, and far more products available on the market because of that. And I think that's one of the big advantages we have over places like America, where it can't move between states, whereas here it's it's moving around all over the place between regulated markets.
And yeah, talking about these regulated markets, Sasha, maybe you could highlight, are there any specific countries you highlight as unexpectedly prominent? So countries from all around the globe that are now we're seeing supply going to or coming from around the globe.
Yes, thank you for the question. As a general comment, yes, the medical cannabis industry is evolving. First of all, it's breaking stereotypes. Breaking stereotypes throughout the world. Of course, it's a slow process, but it has organic growth. So this is the industry that has a great future. If we manage to keep patients satisfied from the quality aspect of the products, and of course to take care of all standards regarding the process of production and delivery of the products. And of course, throughout the way, there are countries that are evolving in a massive way and countries that are stagnating because of many reasons. And the reasons can be from political, let's say, situation, let's say cultural, typical situation, such whatsoever. So if I need to highlight one country, which is for me one of the most evolving markets, I would pick Australia. For me, Australia is the most the fastest growing market that marked 2023. And this is for sure will continue, by my opinion, to continue to happen in 2024. Obviously, the Australian patients recognize the needs of medical cannabis, and the authorities there are quite understanding what is the patient's need at this time regarding the medical cannabis. So I will highlight Australia that marked 2023.
Yeah. Looking at the evolution of the cannabis industry, be it medical or CBD or adult use, obviously technology is one of the most prominent, like one of the most innovative factors and contributors to a success in it being competitive. Maybe Ying, if we look at technology, specifically agri-tech playing a crucial role, how does it help companies stay competitive?
Sure, Alex. I think in today's world, almost everything is about data, and that's no different in our medical cannabis industry. It doesn't matter if you're trying to shorten the cultivation process of a specific strain, maybe by testing far-red spectrums, or if you're experimenting with different lights and spectrum recipes, or even some people are comparing different phenotypes and testing out different crop steering methodologies. Data is the underlying factor to support the research, and ultimately, it's used to showcase stakeholders and investors how the results were obtained, and probably more importantly, how the results can be replicated if it's successful. Another important factor is consistency, and consistency of applying the same steps every single day of the process. We've seen that the most common error in a grow facility is still the human being. And when I say that, it doesn't mean that AI is going to take over, as some people think and believe it's going to be coming soon, right? But what I mean with that is that, there's got to be a human factor that has to be controlled and done consistently, right? And then with our most recent software, Omega, for example, what we try to do is drive consistent behavior and processes. And what is Omega? Just to give you a quick snapshot, it's an enterprise level grow room automation software, and basically an all-in-one software solution with comprehensive task management to ensure compliance in the process. Right. I can't reveal too much more at this point, but it's something we've been working on for a very long time, and something that we're very excited about.
Fantastic. Staying on the subject of innovation, maybe Jonathan or Sasha, you can enlighten me. There's been a lot of innovation regarding product formats and delivery systems. How have these changed? Has this change been driven by the manufacturers, by research, or by the patient? Is it patient driven? Jonathan, maybe if you want to start on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think as the market evolves, in our experience, then you get a more diverse range of patients, and they're not all comfortable with how to handle and prepare cannabis flower or to take it, and it's not always convenient for them. So, we're certainly seeing a clinical need for more and more broader formats, with edibles and pastels, liquid vapes, capsules, creams and ointments, so I think it's certainly, I would say, rapidly becoming more diverse and, a far better range of products to satisfy a broader range of patients.
Nice. Sasha, do you have anything to add on to that?
Yes, thank you for this. So by my personal opinion, 2023 was not a good year in terms of innovation in different types of products based on medical cannabis. I would say that this was the case a few years ago when companies were more keen on in investing into some clinical trials, different types of format of delivering of medical cannabis into the human system, etc., and measure how this is influencing on different types of diagnosis. I feel that last year, especially last year, most of us, let's say, we focus on just producing quality, let's say, one or two forms of medical cannabis, like dry flower or some types of extracts, but dominantly dry flower who we deliver to the patients. And it seems that the patients were more keen on having dry cannabis flower as a product and having for their medical condition. Anyway, the future of the industry should be relying on the innovation and trials. And when I say this, I mean on the whole ecosystem, starting from the cultivation, changing and implementing all high-tech techniques and equipment into delivering, first of all, product which is fulfilling all the criteria by the pharmacopoeias, and as well by the quality in terms of terpenes, etc. And second, the processing part is also very important. The processing part to deliver a product which has a respectable shelf life. So that's a pharmaceutical thing. So cannabis companies can use innovation in packaging, can use innovation in order to provide expiry date of the products, which is giving some flexibility not only to the patients from the quality aspect, but to the wholesalers and distributors as well, to give them some flexibility in terms of distributing longer time for distributing the product to the patients. And third thing, finding different type of dosage forms and different types of products that we still need to investigate more, because at the end, the most important thing is to have the same dose every time you have medical cannabis. I mean, that's the purpose of treating the cannabis as a medical cannabis. Every time, every usage of the product, to have the same, let's say, dose introduced to the system, and that's how it's possible to help to the system to treat any type of condition. So yes, in terms of innovation, as I said before, I stated before, especially here, synergies are very important. And in the end, innovation in terms of handling the products, logistics, how the products travel from the production facility to the end user, to the patient. And this is also something that the cannabis industry needs to think about, how we can all influence into solving all the logistics issues that erased, especially after Corona and during the Corona time. Logistic channels were compromised. Delivering of products became very challenging process, and this also influenced on the overall, let's say, performance of the industry throughout the world. So I was a little bit more extensive with the explanation, but I tried to share my overview as much as I can.
No, that's totally fine. Talking about logistics, we actually just got a question in regarding what are your expectations from a perfect logistics partner that's open to the panel, if anyone would like to jump onto that.
Well, I can start it as this is very important part of distributing the products throughout the world. I mean, usually using the air cargo for transporting medical cannabis is connected with a good logistic partner who can organize the best route and the fastest route to the wholesaler or to the end user. So in terms of defining what's perfect partner, it means that the partner that provides the whole system of taking over, handling, and distributing the products to the wholesaler or to the end user in the most efficient way and the fastest way, and in a controlled environment, which is a prerequisite for keeping let's say quality aspects of the whole process. And this was challenging, to be honest, 2022, 2023. So there are very few companies that are specialized in the cannabis narcotics, let's say, transportation. From our perspective, I mean, we were fortunate enough to have a strong, reliable partner, but I can see that there is still room for improvement in this regard, because at the end, the overall performance of the companies is affected by the performance of the logistic partner.
Yeah. Regarding that, there's also, with logistics partners, there's also problems with exporting and importing cannabis products. Jonathan, do you have anything to talk about the current challenges that companies may face regarding that?
I mean, personally, in the UK, our biggest challenge on export is just the regulations don't currently allow it in the UK, which is hugely frustrating for us. But between other markets and on importing it, it's obviously you have the different regulators. So in the UK, we've got the MHRA and the Home Office that you need to get approval on, and then the relative competent authorities in the market that you're importing from. And at different times, there can be delays or lack of resource with different importers, or challenges when you've got new products or new formats, particularly when you're bringing things in for the first time. It can be a little bit slow and managing those expectations, when you've got patients that you're trying to satisfy that need the medicine.
Yeah. There's also been an update in the recent year on export and import regulations. Lawrence, maybe you can touch on that. We've seen different countries such as New Zealand, Australia, Israel been updating their kind of regulations in that field. The report covers that a bit. Is there something that you would like to mention on that?
Yeah, I think I'm having some connection problems, so just let me know if you can hear me clearly.
We can hear you.
And okay, perfect. Yeah, so I think I've got the question, which is about the import and export regulations in coming from Oceania, right? New Zealand and Australia. I mean, Sasha was right to mention that Australia is looking to be, it's probably the most promising country for international medical cannabis at the moment, and legal cannabis in general, because they're looking like they're moving towards cannabis legalization. But on the import and export front, it's interesting what they're doing, because they are essentially leveling the playing field with their change in regulations. Because up until now, I think we had it that it was easier essentially for exporters coming into the Australian market to treat patients, there was less quality requirements of those products than there was for domestic Australian producers. So they've changed the regulations now so that it's the same quality requirements are required of internationally sourced products versus domestic products. So we should see, well, Australian producers have been quite prominent in the export market, but they'll also, their hand is now strengthened in the domestic market as well. And then on the New Zealand side, there's already a little bit of New Zealand export activity, but not as much as they would have hoped, those producers. But there's been regulatory change there as well, which has lowered the quality requirements of the New Zealand producers in order to be able to export. So we should see New Zealand exports becoming on the international market. So there's some really interesting regulatory activity on both the main medical cannabis markets in Oceania, and both are directed towards making their companies more competitive and leveling the playing field between their domestic and the international cannabis industries. I think that's something we'll see going forward. I mean, it's one of the things missing in the international cannabis industry is sort of harmonization of regulations, right? And this is just one more or two more steps, let's say, towards the harmonization of the international medical cannabis industry.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Lawrence. I'm just going to take one step back from export and imports and go back into tech and platforms. Ying, we talked about, the standardization of products and creating, tech savvy cultivation sites. What methods and platforms are you aware of creating such products? What do companies need to be aware of when it comes from lighting to climate control to all these different factors that help create a standardized product?
All right, I was on mute. That's right. As the industry matures, and develops further, I think standardization is going to become something that's going to happen across our industry, and making sure that if you're an organization who wants to play on the same level as the big league, you're going to have to make sure you implement and make the right investments into those certifications and compliances to make sure that people see your credibility as an organization to participate in that league. If you're not willing to make the investments up front, and sometimes it can be quite significant, then you can't expect to lead the industry, so to speak.
Yeah. There's also, when we're looking at another form of tech platforms, and there's a lot of education and healthcare platforms emerging in the EU. What is kind of hindering healthcare companies to actually adopt medical cannabis and doctors actually prescribing? Are you aware, Jonathan, of any education platforms, or what doctors need to be wary of, or what the whole industry needs to be wary of to see actually growth in patient numbers and as well the adoption of medical cannabis as a treatment?
I mean, I think it's a huge job. I know there's a few platforms that people have invested in, but ultimately there's regulations make it difficult for us as manufacturers to promote the products. So it is difficult, and I think it is going to take time and more investment to achieve it, because it's a huge job when some people have been trained, and it's not a medicine, and suddenly it is, with all of the sort of stigmas and confusion between even cannabis and medical cannabis and CBD, etc. So I think that's a huge job that I don't think anybody's yet cracked, unfortunately. Otherwise, the markets would be substantially bigger.
Yeah. We have a question from one of our viewers. regarding US rescheduling. How would a US rescheduling of cannabis have a tangible effect on international cannabis laws? Does anyone want to touch on that?
I mean, that's another big one. I mean, the US laws are for the US. I mean, obviously, it seems as if it'll be rescheduled very likely to a Schedule 3, so it will be a federally legal medicine, which will make things a lot more sustainable for the US cannabis industry. And I guess a US healthy cannabis industry may mean more investment from the US into Europe. I think that's the difference.
And just
Yeah.
to add on this, I would think it'll trigger positive effect in medical cannabis world in general, because most of the people are following what the bigger, most of the countries are following what the bigger countries and most influential countries are doing in this regard. So it will give a certain level of flexibility and positive pressure to the governments from the public that is need of medical cannabis. So they will be more in favor of pushing forward with the reforms, especially in the countries that are slightly at the back now with in respective of the let's say medical cannabis.
Yeah.
Maybe Sasha just mentioned, Alex. I personally believe that eventually the majority of countries in Europe will adopt to a certain form of legalization, whichever method that will be. Whether that's for the purpose of getting tax dollars or to give the people access to an alternative medical treatment, like what's happening in Ukraine at the moment. What I think is important for companies who are leading is to try and ensure that there's something that I like to call technological or technology equality. What do I mean with that? Is that everybody who wants to access the technology and alternative medicine can access it. Because quite often there's a divide. And then people who want it can't access it because maybe they don't have the funds or they don't have the right relationships. Right. So with technology rapidly evolving, what we try and do is contribute to this objective that we have internally. So apart from develop enterprise solutions, we also want to develop smaller solutions so that everybody can access it, not only the very top, but across communities, and people can create their own alternative medicine in that sense.
Yeah, and I would think if we do look at the internationalization of cannabis, we're also thinking about a form of harmonization in a way. I mean, we're seeing a lot of cannabis companies from outside of Europe now adopting EU GMP standards. How do we see this going forward? Is EU GMP going to be the standard for the world, or do we actually see a international GMP for the medical cannabis industry?
Yeah, if I may. So EU GMP is prerequisite for conducting business in order for you to have available markets. And it's one of the base things for the companies. But as Ying mentioned, and also EU GMP starts with process of construction, of having the right designers that can do the pharmaceutical design of the facility, having the right people that can move forward with all the necessary standards to receive EU GMP inspection and to be EU GMP certified, because EU GMP is like an entry point for starting the production and trying to reach the markets. After that, the quality of the product and let's say consistency and continuous supply defines you on the market. But without EU GMP, it's not possible to even think about creating some business. So most of the country follow EU GMP because it's a so diversified market. Europe is one continent, but diversified is in many small countries which has different legislation. There is no harmonization, as you said. So EU GMP is one thing which is connecting every country and every company into one system that can deliver this type of products. And by the way, it's guarantee for the patients that the product is reaching the levels of pharmaceutical product.
No, agree. Talking about, diversity, we have one of the questions here. What are the next cannabinoids that could enter the market dynamically? Not including CBD, CBG, and CBN, but what are expectations regarding new market legalizations of new cannabinoids? Lawrence, maybe if you want to touch on that.
So I can come. Yeah. So as part of the pharmaceutical report, which we released, I think in sometime in the middle of last year, we conducted an analysis of the patent landscape, and part of that analysis was looking at the patents that have been filed for new cannabinoids, or let's say minor cannabinoids. And what was pretty clear from that analysis is that even though there's always a lot of talk about minor cannabinoids and the potential for minor cannabinoids, in terms of the actual the patenting landscape as well as the clinical trials landscape, it's still the major cannabinoids that are being focused on, but also cannabinoids that are adjacent to those. So as well as THC and CBD, it's THCV, it's THCA, it's CBDA, it's CBDV, and it's also analogs to those. So not even technically cannabinoids, but any compound that is analogous. There is a lot of research and a lot of investment and IP protection as well. So I think it shows that companies think that the most likely places to find value or to find clinical efficacy at the moment are still around the main cannabinoids that we're familiar with.
Great. So one of the questions we got here is what do we expect European wholesale pricing to look for in 2024 as the European market is becoming the target market for growth in the industry? How do we expect wholesale market prices to evolve in 2024?
Okay, so can I start?
Sure.
Regarding this issue? Yeah, so for sure there will be some price decrease for the segment that is, let's say, more, there is more traffic, let's say T22 and the lower segment. For the upper segment, T24, T26, I expect even some stable, let's say, pricing in 2024, because the competition is less and there are very few companies that can target this segment. But in general, this is connected with many factors, and the competition will differentiate how this will happen and will go on in 24. Sorry.
Yeah. Jonathan, do you have anything to say on the wholesale pricing in 2024?
Certainly UK wise, it's competitive. There's a lot of new products on the market, so it probably depends on how much the market grows. If it grows fast, then maybe the prices will remain more stable. But if it doesn't, and more and more products continue to come on, then yeah, it's just demand and supply. The prices may become even more competitive.
Yeah. We have one question here saying, where does this panel stand on EU GMP certification of cultivation versus GACP? Is there, Sasha, do you have something to say?
So, EU GMP in general targets the harvest and post-harvest processing of the material, which secures sterile environment for the products to get in and to be processed and the final product to be, let's say, produced. Cultivation is GACP, let's say, secured. Of course, in our company especially, even the cultivation is under EU GMP auspices, because for us it's it's even better to control this environment at a higher, let's say, standard that needed. But at the end, it's all for the product benefit and patient benefit. And also probably this will differentiate the companies in the future.
Yeah.
Actually, it's funny, Alex, if I can add in, I just came back from a vertical farming event in Bologna, which was attended by 51 countries, a lot of government bodies, universities, and research organizations. And this exact topic, GACP versus GMP, came up. And one of the conclusions was, there's still a lot of there's regulations in place, but still not everybody is agreeing on the standard yet. So there's still a lot of research and study ongoing about what should be the standard across not only medical cannabis but also for different crops. So I think it's an ongoing process. Last year we've seen a lot more requests and queries from research organizations and companies, data companies trying to collect research and data for their clients, because it's a popular topic of discussion and people see a future in it. The big question is going to be, which direction and what's going to be the standard and who's going to set that standard, within the EU and perhaps also globally, like Sasha mentioned earlier.
Yeah. I have one of the final questions for the whole panel. So maybe we start with you, John. What likely trends do you expect in cannabis in 2024? And are there any markets you have a particular eye on?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think obviously what's happening in the US and Germany are the big headlines. I think recently maybe there's some more optimism around, the Poland's and other big European markets like France, what they're going to do, clarifying their medical policies, which would be exciting. But I think ultimately, within the current markets like the UK, it's, I think we can accelerate market growth. It's not all about regulatory change, much as we'd like to be able to export or have GP prescribing. I think the better products that we have available on the market, the more consistent products, the more formats, the better service we can provide to patients, I think they'll just accelerate the growth. And I think the market's far healthier on that front. And, I think we're all still improving. But I think it's well positioned to grow quite rapidly in 24.
Ying, do you have any key trends, or do you expect something to happen in 2024?
Yeah, I'm aligned with Jonathan on that topic, Alex. I think 2024 is going to be a year where there's going to be lots of action. I'll put it in that way. I think as an example, at least for us, if I look at the traditional markets like Spain, Italy, and Switzerland, first they continue to have a big demand, right? But what has been noticeable for us is that everybody had his eyes on Germany to take the lead for Europe, and they have, right? But not in the way that I think everybody was expecting. We see that a lot of people are still kind of hesitant on pushing that go action button and holding a kind of a let's wait and see a little bit longer until the legal process is really confirmed and signed and in writing. And also what caught us by surprise in a way, or was a bit of a gamble for us, was the Czech Republic. They were on the right path, but we didn't expect them to do what we see today. Right, so we're really keeping our eyes open in parts of Western Europe and Eastern Europe also, and actually Czech Republic becoming a gateway for Central Eastern Europe in that regard. So I think it's going to be exciting times in 2024, and I can't wait to see what's coming.
Perfect. Thank you, Ying. Sasha, do you have what are your predictions for 2024? How does 2024 look like for you?
Yes, that's a very, very good question. And actually, we look on 2024 in very, let's say, positive manner. Actually, we target Ukraine as one of the markets that we think that they will surprise, because we understand the needs of the people there, especially that are suffering from different types of, let's say, situation, war, directly included in the war activities in the war, or living in crisis region. So most of these people will suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, which is provenly shown that cannabis can help and can significantly treat the symptoms and correct the situation. Second, I feel Brazil will be also very important this year as a key milestone, because we expect the first product based on THC extract. I'm speaking about extract, to be registered in Brazil in 2024. As you know, till now, import is allowed, but on compassionate base and only on CBD products. And third country which will make significant movement regarding medical cannabis, we expect to be Spain by the end of the year, which is another big European country. So the movement is slow. There will be organic growth, but still for the cannabis industry, it's very important to have more markets coming in on the map, and cannabis companies have more opportunities in terms of delivering products to patients in needs.
Okay. Yeah, I think that is very important. Lawrence, what from your analysis and looking into the market last year, what do you expect the key trends to be for 2024?
Well, one of the big ones that we're looking at is Thailand, because it's in a state of flux at the moment. Such a big industry has developed there since June 2022, when they essentially de facto legalized recreational cannabis. Now they're obviously trying to crack down on that or curtail the industry to some degree, but there's a pretty broad consensus that they want to turn it medical. And the cat is out of the bag in some sense. I don't know how you stop an almost $1 billion industry when it's in full flow. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens there, especially because it's quite unique in the Asian context, in that it's actually allowed a cannabis industry to flourish. Australia, as we've already mentioned, I mean, it'll be really interesting to see what happens there, particularly on the political regulatory front, to see to what degree progress is made on adult use cannabis legalization, and then what effect that has on the medical industry. And on that point as well, it'll be interesting to see if there's what the interaction is between adult use markets and medical markets in Europe. So the most interesting example there, the most interesting case of an adult use market is certainly the Netherlands. It'll be really interesting to see how their legal supply chain pilot projects develop, and then if the German model is used as a template by other European countries, if the Czech Republic goes towards that model, as they seem to be indicating that they are, with the non-profit members associations called community cultivation. But then, as Jonathan mentioned, I mean, it's about companies also adapting and operating in the structures that exist already. I feel like so often we're waiting for this big regulatory change, and people expect this big explosion, but it's actually a question of adapting to structures that already exist. And I mean, the regulatory structures haven't changed to a huge degree in the UK, in the past few years, but in the past year we've seen tremendous growth, just I think by companies realizing better how to navigate those structures that already exist.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Well, it seems that we are at the end of the webinar. And I would like to thank you all for contributing to the report and to this informative discussion. Seems like 2024 is going to be a interesting year, that's for sure. And as mentioned earlier, the Global Cannabis Report is now available for download on Prohibition Partners website. I just wanted to say thank you for joining us on this webinar, and hope to see you all very soon.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks all. Cheers.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.